Welcome to this week's weekly webinar, Preparing for the End of Term in JMC Office. It's hard to believe we're already almost to the end of the first quarter, in some cases, possibly first hexes, but my name is Jake Vansko. I'm a trainer here at JMC. I'm joined by Brian Wall. Brian, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hey, this is Brian Wall. I have been with JMC for about a year and a half now, after 34 years in public education, 10 in the classroom as a high school math teacher, and the last 24 as a high school and middle school principal.
And Jody Schott is here as well. Jody, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I am Jody Schott, and I've been with JMC for a little over 2 years now. And prior to that, I was an office manager for a charter school in Minnesota.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So as a trainer here at JMC, I've been a trainer for a few years now. And prior to that, I was a high school English teacher and instructional coach in the great state of Iowa. So I know firsthand how anxiety filled the end of the term can be for some teachers and some front office staff members. So today we're here to alleviate some of those concerns and show you how to end the term in style in JMC. So putting the finishing touches on the term is simple in JMC Office. No matter if your school utilizes end of term course grades or standard-based report cards, we've got you covered with the basic steps for monitoring teacher submissions and printing report cards. As always, please feel free to use that Q&A feature that's built right into RingCentral here, and we will answer questions as we go. And we're going to start with accepting and reviewing end of term teacher submissions. So just to let you know, this is there's going to actually be 2 webinars over this topic. We're going to show you from the office end today. And then we've got the teacher submission part of this coming up in a week or so. So what we're looking at right here is kind of the first thing that would start the process, which is accepting grades and standards and benchmarks. So we're going to jump into grade acceptance settings right now. When it's time to report end of term results, office professionals work in tandem with teachers to get end of term grades or standard-based report cards into the hands of their families in a timely fashion. Office professionals begin this process by opening the grade acceptance period in JMC Office to invite teachers to submit their end of term results. Then, as teachers submit end of term course grades and standard-based results, JMC automatically puts them into report cards, eliminating the chore of manually compiling grades. To open or close a grade acceptance period, head to Grading, Entry, Grade Acceptance, and click the Settings tab in JMC Office. So we are in Grading, Entry, Grade Acceptance, and on the Settings tab. Step 1, select the Grade Acceptance On, Grade Acceptance Off, or Grade Acceptance On Between radio button from the Grade Acceptance box to establish the grade acceptance period. Helpful tip: select the Grade Acceptance On Between option and enter a date in the From and To fields to set a grading window that allows teachers to submit grades. Step 2, place a check mark in the appropriate checkboxes to indicate the type of grades you're accepting. Midterm grades are grades from the JMC Teacher Midterm Grades page. Course grades are grades from the JMC Teacher Course Grades page. And standards and benchmarks are assessments entered by the teacher on the Edit Assessments page in JMC Teacher. So standard-based report card, you can think of that, standards and benchmarks. End of term course grades, you can think of that as the course grades there. Step 3, place a check mark in the Terms to Accept Grades From checkbox to accept grades associated with the appropriate term. Step 4, you'll click the Save button to save your grade acceptance settings. Fun fact, when you turn on grade acceptance, teachers will receive an alert in JMC Teacher reminding them that it's time to submit grades. Helpful tip: prevent teachers from making unwanted updates to report cards by selecting the Grade Acceptance Off radio button after the term has been completed. So let's take a live look at accepting course grades and standards and benchmarks in JMC Office. So the first part in this, I'm logged into JMC Office. We're going to head to Grading, Entry, Grade Acceptance. So again, Grading, Entry, Grade Acceptance on the menu tree. We're going to click Settings right here. And there's an important distinction to make here: with grade acceptance off, teachers cannot submit grades. So I'm going to pop into JMC Teacher. So I just logged into my teacher portal over here, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So from the edit course grades over here, you would see a quick link that your teachers would use to submit grades to the office. That quick link is not available with grade acceptance shut off. And the reason we have this grade acceptance period in the first place is because we were running into the issue where teachers would submit grades to the office, and the office would print report cards, and lo and behold, a student would come in with some late homework or a late assignment, and teachers would update the grade book, they would update the grades, and they would resend those grades to the office. And the office professional had no way of knowing that the grade had changed in between the time that they accepted the grade and printed the report card, and when the report card was, or I'm sorry, when the grades were resent. And this led to some confusion and some conversations that were difficult between families and, teachers, and sometimes the front office staff, because, the teachers were expecting to see one thing on the report card. The families were looking at the JMC family portal and seeing the teachers published results that had that most recent late score in it, but then the report card said something different. So we needed a way for the office to take control of when they were able to receive submissions. And that's why we have this radio button here. So the recommendation is to keep that grade acceptance off until the front office staff is ready to receive those grades. If you have a teacher that's late, so you shut off the grading period, you have a teacher that wants a late submission, you can always come back to this page and turn it on so that teacher can submit grades, but that almost forces the communication then, forces your teacher to say, hey, I have some updated grades that I need to send to you. That way, if you've already printed report cards, you can go back and maybe print the report cards for the affected students that have the updated grades. So the steps to this are pretty simple. You can either just manually turn on the grade acceptance feature, or you can choose this window, the grade acceptance on between. So if you know that the end of the term is coming up in the middle of October, or the end of October, you can choose that week at the end of October, say the 28th to November 1st, and your teachers have all week to get grades in. That's going to automatically turn on this window and then shut it off after November 1st. So then you can come in and print report cards November 2nd. Or actually, the second part of this, you're going to want to check to make sure all of your teachers have submitted grades. But then you don't have to worry about coming in and remembering to shut off the grade acceptance period. So a couple different ways that you can handle that. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm just going to turn grade acceptance on. Makes it available immediately. And then I'm going to choose which type of end of term grades I want to receive. You might choose, if we're at the midterm and you want to receive midterm grades so you can print midterm report cards, your configuration could look like this. So it's just midterm grades that you're accepting. If we're at the end of the term, if your teachers only submit end of term course grades, your configuration might look like this. If they only send standard-based report cards, it might look like this. If they send both course grades and standards and benchmarks, or if you have a combination of teachers where some teachers submit course grades, some teachers submit standard-based report cards, you might have both of these turned on. That's totally fine. The terms to accept grades from, this is actually referencing your calendar on the attendance calendar days page. So you'll even notice that I can't select SEM 2 if I wanted to, because it's not time for some semester 2 grades. Once the calendar date reaches that next quarter, that second quarter, you'll be able to turn grade acceptance on for quarter 2. This was something that was leading to some confusion. Right now, if you were to look at my calendar, attendance calendar days page, you would see that the only terms that are in progress are SEM 1, Tri 1, and Quarter 1. So I don't have any trimester grades that I'm accepting, so I'm going to remove that. I just have SEM 1 and Quarter 1 grades that I'm accepting, so I'm going to save these settings. And to pop back to JMC Teacher, when I refresh my page here, actually going to go to the home page, and I actually might even need to, no, I don't need to log out. Right here's the alert that your teachers will see. It lets them know, hey, it's time to import grades for Q1 for all courses. Then when they go to the edit course grades page, they're going to see a quick link here that says send grades for Q1, semester 1 for all courses to the office. So that's the process on the teacher side. Again, we're going to have a webinar that explains all about that, but I just wanted to make some of you office professionals know that that's what it looks like on the teacher side. So if you guys get questions, you can kind of point them in the right direction. So Brian, anything that you would like to add, or Jody, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I would just say, I think this grade acceptance was available widely to our schools for the first time, this previous school year.
Yep.
And I know that some schools ran into a little bit of a hiccup for getting to open up that grade acceptance window. Teachers weren't seeing the link that allowed them to send their grades. And so that sometimes prompted some questions to the office. So it's just not, make it part of your routine at the end of each grading term now to go in there and open up that grade acceptance window.
Absolutely. And as a result of that, one of the things that we kept getting from our front office staff members were like, we need a report, or we need a way to see who has received or who has sent grades, or which teachers have sent grades. So that's another reason for that grade acceptance period. It gives us the ability to see which teachers have sent grades. So if there are any questions, we can take those at this time. Otherwise, let's take a look at that grade acceptance report.
There's no questions.
Thanks, Jody. So Brian, you want to take this section?
You bet. Let's take a look at reviewing teacher submissions. Once teachers have finished submitting course grades to the office, you can start sending report cards home. But how will you know when all teachers have submitted their grades? The grade submission log in JMC allows you to easily view the teachers that still need to submit grades, so you know exactly when you are ready to officially close out the grading period. In JMC Office, head to Grading, Entry, Grade Acceptance, and click the Grade Submission Log tab to run a grade submission report. Step 1, place a check mark in the following checkbox or boxes to view the following grade submissions. Midterm grades, grades from the JMC Teacher Midterm Grades page. This is what we did at our school, where we ran grades. Our grading term didn't end until the end of the semester. Course grades, grades from the JMC Teacher Course Grades page, or standards and benchmarks, assessments entered by the teacher on the edit assessment pages in JMC Teacher. Step 2, select the appropriate term from the grades accepted, imported drop-down list to view grades submitted for a specified term. Step 3, click the search button to view a list of teachers who have and have not yet imported grades. Fun fact, the grade submission log report includes the course name, class period, accepted grades, and import date. Step 5, click the print button to print the list of teachers for future reference. Helpful tip, need to reset the grade submission log table and start a new end of term grading period? No problem. Simply click the Delete Log Table button for a fresh report.
All right, so let's take a live look at this report here. So again, I'm still on this grading entry grade acceptance page. This time I'm going to click this grade submission log, and I am accepting course grades. I'm accepting standards and benchmarks, and I can do this with the grade acceptance period on. That's totally fine. I'm accepting grades from Q1, Sem 1, so that's what I'm going to look for. I click search, and this is going to pull up a report of teachers who have not imported grades. So my process, would be, as a front office professional, I would take a look at all of the teachers that are on this list, and I would send some targeted communication to these teachers. And you can see I have quite a few. And I'm sure, Brian, you could probably attest to sending blanket emails for things like, hey, it's time to send in course grades. A lot of times those tend to be ignored because, you know, if you're a teacher and you're on the receiving end of a list of all teachers on there, you're thinking, that doesn't pertain to me. It becomes a lot more effective when the phone call / text message / email is directed to you and you alone. So I would reach out to Mr. V specifically and say, hey, Mr. V, it's time to turn your grades in. And then I, as a Mr. V, can be like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. So now I'm in JMC Teacher. I send my grades to the office. It's going to let me know grades have been imported to the office. I click OK. And now on your end, what you're going to see is not only a little alert here at the top, so I can hover over this alert that says, I've got some teachers who have sent or imported course grades. I can hover over this and I can see which teachers have submitted, or if I go back to my grading entry grade acceptance page, click the grade submission log and refresh that report. Now I can see Mr. V is not on that list. And actually he is down here under teachers who have imported course grades. So, you know, we do have the standards and benchmarks results on that same page. So you'd have to kind of scroll through here and look to see what you're looking at in bold. Like these are course grades. These are also course grades. Teachers who have not are going to appear at the top. Teachers who have will appear at the bottom of the list. And then it goes down to the standards and benchmarks results, or the standard-based report card grades. So the teachers who have not submitted would be listed at the top of that as well. And then the teachers that have submitted would be at the bottom. And I don't know if we have anybody that submitted. So, oh yeah, we do. Teachers who have imported benchmark results are all listed right there. So
It's just great to have all of this in one place on this submission log. You know, back in the old days, we just would go search for missing grades and then have to figure out which teachers had missing grades. And you're right about those pointed emails. If I sent a blanket email out that, hey, I'm missing some grades, I would hear from all the teachers who had successfully sent their grades and the ones who hadn't. And you know who those people are, I'm betting. They're the ones that would ignore that email.
yeah, I would get that email having sent my grades and respond, did you get my grades? And then I would, you know, you'd have to have that back and forth. So this just makes it a little bit more efficient for you on both ends. So Jody, any questions or anything to add?
There is no questions, but as the person in the office that had to send out the report cards, this was a huge time saver for me to know if a teacher goes, I sent grades, I'm like, well, actually you didn't. I have a report now. So it works out. It's a very nice feature.
All right.
And no questions. So.
All right, so let's get into printing report cards. We'll start with the course grades report cards. You'll actually have to go to two different places to print course grades report cards versus standard-based report cards, but the process is very, very similar. It's just a matter of going to the correct spot. So end of term course grades, again, are those, you get one letter grade at the end of the term for an entire course. So like math, a B+, science, a C-, or whatever the case may be. Standard-based report cards is where you have teachers that are reporting proficiency of standards that might be linked together by a course. So a standard-based report card is going to be much more in depth than a course grades report card. So starting with those course grades report cards, now that the term is ended and teachers have submitted end of term course grades to the office, let's clearly communicate student performance with course grades report cards in JMC. Easily print or email report cards from JMC office, including attendance information, GPAs, class ranks, and more, then distribute them to your family via email with just a few clicks. Simultaneously print hard copies for families that do not have email addresses listed in JMC. Once teachers have submitted grades to the office, you're going to go to Grading Reports Report Cards to print or email your end of term course grades report cards. So Grading Reports Report Cards. Step 1, you'll select the term type from the term type drop-down list and specify a term by clicking the appropriate radio button to filter your report cards. Step 2, you'll select a radio button from the select box to identify which student report cards will be printed or emailed. Then fill out the appropriate fields highlighted below. So bisequential allows you to print a range of students by JMC student ID number. By random allows you to individually select students from a list of all active students and print individual report cards. By grade allows you to select a grade range or a range of grade levels, for example, 6th to 8th, and print those report cards at once, or you can choose by advisor ID number, for example, 1 to 10, and print report cards by advisor. Step 3, you place a check mark in the appropriate checkboxes to include the following items, the following grading items on the report card. So you can include GPAs, the cumulative GPA for the student's academic career, the GPA for the current term, or the GPA for the year. So cumulative, term, and year in the GPAs box. In the grading box, you've got the class rank, honor roll, and graduate credit. As far as attendance options are concerned, you can choose attendance information, including total tardies, excused or unexcused absences, or you've got the other option that allows you to print the legal name of the student. You can include standards and benchmark instances if that's appropriate to you. You can sort by primary contact and some of those other options as well. Step 4, you'll click the preview button to view and enable the emailing of course grades report cards from JMC Office. So once you've selected the options that you want to include on the report card and you've selected the students up here, you'll click that preview button. And from there, step 5, the optional step 5, you place a check mark in the email if possible checkbox to email your course grades report cards to primary contacts. Step 6, enter an email message in the message box for display in the body of the email. For example, please see attached form for Q2 teacher changes, for example. Fun fact, add a little pizzazz to your message using the formatting tools: font, weight, size, the sky's the limit. Even insert a link by using the globe icon. Step 7, an optional step, place a check mark in the email student checkbox to email the course grades report card to the students. Step 8, enter an email address in the reply to email field to receive a reply to your email. And step 9, click the choose file button to add a file to your computer or from your computer as an email attachment with those report cards. So if you have, the fall banquet that's coming up, you have a flyer for the fall banquet that you want to include with those report cards, you can attach that file as a PDF right there to that email. Step 10, an optional step and something folks might not know a lot about, these tabs here at the bottom of the page next to the report cards tab. We have a formatting tab that allows you to further customize your report card. So you can adjust the size with that radio button next to the appropriate size to adjust the vertical orientation of your report card. You can select the font size and spacing used with those the appropriate drop-down lists there. So font size right there, the spacing right there. You can customize the labels of your quarters, semesters, trimesters, or hexes by entering your preferred label in the appropriate field. You can click the defaults button down here to return to the recommended settings, or click the update button to save any of your formatting changes. We also have the messaging options, which you can include on grade level specific report cards. So an optional step, you can click the messages tab to insert a custom message on the bottom of the report card for all grades or for selected grade levels. Click the clear button to remove all messages from all grade levels. Place a check mark next to the appropriate grade level option to enter a message in the field to add to the report card of the students of that grade level, and click the update button to save your changes. So a nice little way to get some reminders out to your families of specified grade levels there. Once all that's completed, step 12, click the print button to print and email the course grades report cards, or click the export button to export them to a CSV file. So there's a lot of information that you can include on these report cards. It's fairly simple, and the sky's the limit to the different options that you can include. So we're going to go to grading reports, report cards. And easiest way to do this, You select the term. We're sending Q1 report cards. Who are we sending them for? All grade levels at once. What do we want on the report cards? I can choose. Yeah, I don't want cumulative GPAs. I don't even want the term GPAs. I want no GPAs in there. I don't want any class ranks or honor rolls or any of that sort of stuff. So you can choose to include or exclude that. I do want attendance information. I don't have any other options that I want to include there. We'll use the student's legal name on the report card. Sure. I click preview. And now this is going to preview a list of report cards that have been submitted right down here. From there, if I wanted to print all report cards for all grade levels, I just click the print button. If I choose to email, if possible, if the student primary contact has an email listed in JMC Office, instead of printing the report card, it's going to email the report card along with the message, along with the attachment, along with the message that you might include in the formatting options down here as well. So include your reply to email address there. You can attach a file. If you want to email the report card to the student as well, you place a check mark in that. Anything I'm missing or anything to add there, Brian or Jody?
I just know as an administrator, I really appreciated how JMC, if we emailed when possible, and how JMC will send the email and at the same time print you out a hard copy of those families that you don't have an email address for. So it just saves a step in going back and looking for those families. You're ready to throw those in snail mail right away.
Nice. Jody, any questions coming through?
No questions.
All right. Thank you very much. So again, that's a course grades report card. We also have standards and benchmarks report cards. It's kind of up to you to determine which report cards your teachers are reporting out on. If you have questions, your front office person, you're unsure, your administrator should know, your teacher should know which end of term reporting option your school is utilizing. Again, in a K-12 situation, you might be using both. Typically, I would say elementaries tend to use the standards based report cards a little bit more than the high school. Middle school is about 50-50, I would say. Generally, high schools use the course grades report cards because they have the things like the GPAs and the class ranks and honor rolls and all of those things that high schools value there. So printing and emailing standard-based report cards is one of the final steps of the term and a great way to inform families and students of students' academic progress. Now that the term has ended and teachers have submitted standards-based report cards to the office, simply select the appropriate term and group of students and wrap up the term by emailing report cards to students and primary contacts. Again, the process is almost identical. It's just a different spot you're going in the program to do so. So we are, instead of heading to the grading report cards page, we're heading to standards and benchmarks, reports, print standards and benchmarks report card. So standards and benchmarks, reports, print standards and benchmarks report cards. The rest of this is almost identical. Step one, you're going to select the term type from the term type drop-down list and specify the term with the radio button. Step two, you'll select the grades, the grade levels that are you're wanting to print out. You can choose the sequential that selects a range of students by student ID. You can select random individual selected students to print individual report cards. You can select a grade range, probably the most popular, the grade range, I would say, or by advisor would allow you to print those report cards by advisor number. Step three, you would select a radio button from the form size box to identify the paper size that the standard-based report cards will be printed on. You could either use that form on the use form settings, which would print the form on legal or legal sized paper, depending upon the form settings. The letter would print on the form on a letter size paper, regardless of the form settings. And then the legal would print the form on the legal size paper, regardless of the form settings. So I would say when in doubt, use that top option there, use the form setting option. Step 4, place a check mark in the email, if possible, checkbox to email the report card to primary contacts. Again, we have the availability or the option to email students as well. You can enter an email message in that email message field. You can add a little pizzazz to your message by inserting web links, change the font color, size, style, and more. Enter an email address in the reply to field to receive a reply to your email. And step 8, the optional step, you can choose a file to add from your computer as an email attachment as well. Your final step, step 9, click the print button to print and email the report cards, or click the export button to export the report cards to a CSV file. So let's take a live look at printing and emailing standard-based report cards. Again, I'm in JMC Office here. I'm going to go to Standards and Benchmarks, Reports, Print Standards and Benchmarks report cards. This is slightly different than the transcripts. So the report cards are actually going to print the forms that you created through the form designer in JMC, or possibly had the forms team create for you. Jody is like, quit stealing my thunder, Jake. Select the term type, the appropriate term type, the grade range. You know, if I only have grades K through 6 doing my standard-based report cards, I might choose K through 6. I'm going to leave the form settings alone. Then I'm going to click the print button, and this is going to print me a copy of my standard-based report cards. And I'm going to see if I can pull up an example so maybe you can see what a standard-based report card would look like. I don't know that I have one filled out, but I have a sample report card here. So this is what a standard-based report card may look like. And that's kind of the difference. So you still have the attendance, you still have the grading key and things like that on it. But instead of listing just one course in a course grade, you might have different standards or areas that your teachers are reporting on. This is much more common in elementaries, particularly lower level elementaries, such as kindergarten, first, second grade. Jody, I know you work with forms quite a bit. Do you have anything that you would like to add as far as standards benchmarks are concerned?
Not that I can think of. I guess if anybody's having issues with report cards with the standards and benchmarks, just reach out to us, because it could be something simple as far as something not attached right for your teachers, or instance right, or anything like that. So when in doubt, just reach out, you know, because we will know what to look for very quickly. So we're here to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And that's forms@jmcinc.com is the email address if you want to email our forms team with any questions on your standards-based report cards. So forms@jmcinc.com. With that, if there aren't any questions, it is time for JMC news and upcoming events. The remainder of our October weekly webinar schedule, as we start October, I should say, we've got your civil rights data collection starting on October 2nd. And that's the ending the term in JMC teacher is what we're doing on the 9th there. So if you've got some teachers that are going to need some guidance on how to enter grades at the end of the term, or submit grades, submit report cards at the end of the term, you might want to get them registered for this webinar. You can click the PDF, click the link in the PDF to sign up for this webinar. The renumbering students, this is going to change for the 3rd week in October. Last week in October, we're getting into understanding the teacher conference scheduler. So with the end of term often comes teacher conferences. So if your school utilizes the teacher conference scheduler, we'd invite you to tune into that 1023 webinar as well. Start the term off right with the messaging app that tightens engagement across your entire district community, JMC's Community Messenger. From an admin dashboard with all the data needed to enhance messaging to robust preferences for community members, it's one handy tool. If you want to add the Community Messenger for just 42 cents per student, reach out to sales@jmcinc.com. We're here to help with your end of term to-dos in person or virtually. Our CSS team will visit your building in October to ensure you have all that you need to succeed and follow up with a resource-packed email on submitting grades, creating academic reports, and more. In the meantime, register for our 9/25. That's today's webinar, Ending the Term in JMC Office. So be on the lookout for your local CSS coming to you. Oh, Gail, you jumped in with a question last minute. Usually by the time I get to the news, I'm done answering questions. So for you, I'm going to go back and try to answer this one, but you interrupted my cadence, Gail. What do we got going on here? So how do you pull a GPA report at the end of each term? That's a great question. So first off, I would invite you to check out our widget down here, search for the Help Center. And in your case, you want the GPA report. So I type in GPA report right here. And this is going to give you the show GPA report, running a grade point averages report. This will give you the step-by-step instructions for how to do so. I think you're going to want this grade point averages report. So this is under grading, reports, grade point averages. You know, again, select the students and the terms that I'm looking for. I click preview here, and this is going to display my students along with the GPAs for the quarter, for the year, and the cumulative GPA all in one. The live GPA is actually, you know, as we're going on, as teachers publish grades, if you want to see those live results, or if you want the GPAs for the live results, you'd include that checkbox there. Include incomplete GPAs and averages. That's any grade that is an I. For incomplete, that's going to drop their GPA as if you know, they had a failing grade in there. So that's, you would include that. So you run your report here. This is going to identify you know, students with GPAs or incomplete GPAs. Please don't mind the mess of our system and the lack of zeros. You're going to have much more data than we will. Another report that might be handy for you is this honor roll report. If you're trying to figure out which of your students made the honor roll, if you've submitted honor roll statuses to our tech support, they have configured your honor roll thresholds. So if you have an A honor roll and you need a 3.5 to reach the A honor roll, or a 3.0 to reach the B honor roll, we will have identified that. You click preview for the term. It's going to show you all of the students that reached that honor roll. In ours, we just have one honor roll, and it'll show the GPA of the student over here in that column as well. So I'm glad you brought that up. We didn't include that as part of this this presentation, but that is definitely an end of term to do that you might need to run some of those reports, like the honor roll report and the grade point averages report. So I appreciate you letting me give you a little bit of grief there too, Gail. Anything else I can help you out with before we get to the remainder of our news? So using a standard-based report card, this webinar is for you. Watch our 9/18 training. So this is on our YouTube channel. It's available on our YouTube channel with SBG holding steady as the gold standard for assessing academic progress. JMC continues to upgrade our grading tools, helping you propel student success forward. Watch that 9/18 training on our YouTube channel to learn about the latest innovations that'll save you time on creating proficiency scales and more. Summer may be wrapping up, but there's still time to play in the JMC Sandbox. It's a duplicate of your school's JMC site where you can experiment with scheduling and all of our tools while keeping your live data safe and sound. You can get a JMC Sandbox covering all buildings for just $868 per year. If you're interested, please contact sales@jmcinc.com. For Jody Schott, Brian Wall, I'm Jake Vanscoy, thanking you for joining us for this weekly webinar, and we will catch you on the flip side.